Yahweh Shai waiting, come to take the throne. To conquer world powers, bring Jacob home. I'm quarterbacking like Jake DeLone, like Mount Rushmore. I got a face of stone.
I want to say, call halal Yahweh, Bahashem, Hamashat Yahweh Shah, and that's all praises to the Heavenly Father, who the world inwardly calls Jesus Christ. All right, and today, we're going to talk about the Feast of Tabernacles, something that we've, through Yahshua, we've been celebrating this whole week. It's going to be ending tomorrow night, so we're not going too deep. It's just, once again, we're just trying to hit all the commandments, all the high holy days, just trying to give a lesson to edify the nation of Israel, because a lot of our people, while we're taking our heritage back, you know, we're ignorant about certain things. So we're just trying to bring some things to the light, man. So let's read about the commandment in the book of Leviticus about the high holy day of the Feast of Tabernacles, also known as the Feast of Booths, or Sukkot, right?
The book of Leviticus, chapter 23 and verse 33. And Yahweh spoke unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, the 15th day and of this 7th month shall be the Feast of Tabernacles.
Right, and so you can understand these days whenever you're going off of this lunar cycle, how we go off of, right? Go ahead.
For the 7th days, for 7 days unto Yahweh. Verse 35. On the first day shall be the holy congregation. Ye shall do no servant work therein.
So you're going to treat this first day of the feast, which is already passed, but you're supposed to have treated that first day as a regular weekly Sabbath. No buying or selling, no cooking, no buying or selling on that day. Go ahead.
Verse 36. 7 days ye shall offer an offering made by fire unto Yahweh, and on the 8th day shall be an holy congregation unto you, and ye shall offer to be a solemn assembly.
To be a solemn assembly, right? So we just meeting up with our brothers, right? Meeting up with the rest of Israel, because this is Israel. The later part of this chapter is going to explain to you how this is very exclusive. You know what I'm saying? Now, we understand through a kingdom connotation, then all nations are going to have to keep the Feast of Tabernacles. We're going to get to that later. But right now, this is very exclusive. So we're meeting up with Yahshua, right? Go ahead.
And ye shall do no servile work therein. 37. These are the feasts of Yahweh, which ye shall proclaim to be holy congregation, to offer an offering made by fire unto Yahweh, a burnt offering, and made of meat offering, and sacrifice, and drink offerings, everything unto his day. Verse 38. Beside the Sabbath of the Lord.
Y'all pay close attention right here, verse 38. Go ahead, because we're going to expound upon it later.
Beside the Sabbaths of Yahweh, and besides your gifts, and beside your own vows, and beside all your free will offerings, which ye give unto Yahweh. Verse 39. Also in the 15th day of the 7th month, when ye have gathered in the fruit of the land.
Gathered in the what?
The fruit of the land.
All right, all praise. Now we're going to expound upon that later, right?
Ye shall keep the feast unto Yahweh 7 days. On the first day shall be the Sabbath, and on the 8th day shall be a Sabbath. Verse 40. And ye shall take you on the first day and brings of goods, trees, branches of proclaimed trees, and brooks of thick trees, and widows of brooks, and ye shall.
So basically, we're supposed to be building our own tent out of these different woods, out of boughs, out of palm branches, out of olive branches, things of that sort. Go ahead.
And ye shall rejoice before Yahweh, your power, 7 days.
And we shall rejoice, right? This isn't. Now we just came out of the season of Day of Atonement, right? Now, Day of Atonement, we're supposed to have afflicted ourselves, right? If you watch Sicarii Dallas and sit down upon the Day of Atonement, we went into what that word afflict means, right? But this feast is a day of joyfulness, man. You're supposed to be congregating with your brother and your occupant, you know, and making it it's supposed to be a joyful feast day, right? Go ahead.
Verse 41. And ye shall keep it a feast unto Yahweh 7 days. 41. And ye shall keep it a feast unto Yahweh 7 days in the year. It shall be a statute forever. And
So it's a statute forever. That means this is still going to be happening even in the new dispensation of time in the kingdom. Go ahead.
A statute forever in your generations. Ye shall celebrate it in the 7th month. Verse 42. Ye shall dwell in booths 7 days.
All right. Tents, also known as booths. Go ahead.
All that are Israelites born.
All that are who?
All that are Israelites born shall dwell in.
All that is. Hey, Sally. Sally. All right, well, her. All right, her and her people, man. They can't celebrate that. Not right now, anyway. All right, this is just only meant for us. All that are Israelites. So the Most High God has awakened us out of our deep slumber, awakened us to His law, statutes, commandments. Right? Spirit bear witness. So we understand that we got to keep this thing. Go ahead.
All that are Israelites born shall dwell.
Oh man, that just sounds beautiful to me, man. And just knowing that we celebrated that, bro. That's just like your spirit. I mean, your works bear witness to who you are. Like Yahweh said in John chapter 5, he says, if you don't believe who I say I am, at least just believe the works. At least believe the works, because your works testify who you are and who you represent, right? So we're keeping the feast of the Tabernacles because our works is proclaiming and confessing who we are. He said all that are Israelites, right? And we understand that we're Israelites because we keep this faith and we keep His commandments for Yahweh. Go ahead.
All that are Israelites born shall dwell in booths. Verse 43, that your generations may know that I made the children of Israel.
Because He's bringing you into reminder. He's giving you the reason why you're celebrating the Feast of Tabernacles. Go ahead, read that again.
Verse 43, that your generations may know that I made the children of Israel.
So our children and our children's children can know that it was Yahweh who made us, man, who created us as a nation of people, right?
Right.
He didn't create these other nations of people, these other nationalities, the way how He just took His time and raised us up like out of our dry state. Because when you read Ezekiel 16, he was talking about how He found us in the field naked in the wilderness where nobody had pity upon us, right? But He nurtured us, man. Go ahead.
That I made the children of Israel to dwell in booths.
To dwell in where?
In booths.
Go ahead.
When I brought them out of the land of Egypt. I am Yahweh, your power. Verse 44, and Moses declared unto the children of Israel the feast of Yahweh.
Beautiful, beautiful. Now, read verse 39 one more time.
Verse 39, also in the 15th day of the 7th month, when ye gathered in the fruit.
You gathered in the fruit. Does that sound familiar? Read this in James.
This is the book of James, chapter 5 and verse 7. Be patient, therefore, brethren, unto the coming of the Lord. Behold, the husbandman waiting for the precious fruit of the earth.
Now, who's the husband? All right, we can read this in Matthew chapter 22, right? Yahweh Shah is the husband, right? Go ahead.
Behold, the husbandman waiting for the precious fruit of the earth.
I wonder who the precious fruit is, man. It might be us, right? Now, we had Feast of First Fruits earlier this year, right? If you was watching the lesson, we went over who the first fruits are. It's nothing but Israel, right? So Yahweh is waiting for the first fruits. He's waiting for His people, right? Go ahead.
And have long patience for it, until He receiveth the early and the later rain.
Until He receives the early and the latter rain, man. That's going back into the law. When you keep these law, statutes, commandments, your land is going to have rain upon it, man. So and that land is going to produce fruit, right? That land is going to produce fruit. Now let's read this in Jeremiah chapter 51, because just how the Most High redeemed fruit out of Egypt of old, He's going to redeem fruit out of this spiritual Egypt. Go ahead.
The book of Jeremiah chapter 51 and verse 33. For thus saith Yahweh of hosts, the power of Israel, the daughter of Babylon, is like a threshing floor.
A threshing floor. What do you do on threshing floors? If you have any type of knowledge about farming, right? What's that threshing floor made for? It's made to separate wheat. It's made to separate wheat. And He's likening this daughter of Babylon, the United States, as a threshing floor. So go ahead.
It is time.
And you use a sickle. You use a sickle, right? Going back to Revelation 14. Go ahead.
It is time to thrust her.
It's time to thrust her, right? It's time to go ahead and separate the wheat from the chaff, to separate the sheep from the goats. Give me Matthew chapter 25, verse 32.
Yet a little while, and the time of her harvest shall come.
He said, yet just a little while, and then the time of her harvest is going to come. Now, give me that Leviticus 23 and verse 39, because this is what made us stem to these other texts. It's all about, it's always, pretty much all of these commandments is always centered around the fruit. The fruit, that's one constant thing that I see whenever I read through these high holy days. And the commandments in general, just the fruit, right? Right, and that's something that Israel has always been destitute of giving Yahweh. We've been destitute of giving him his fruit. All right, go ahead. But he's going to get it, man. Go ahead.
Come, the book of Leviticus chapter 23 and verse 39. Also, in the 15th day of the 7th month, when ye have gathered in the fruit of the land, ye shall keep a feast unto Yahweh 7 days.
So when we gather in the fruit, then we're going to keep the feast of Tabernacles, right? That sounds familiar. Now, we just read how Babylon's a threshing floor. When you use that threshing floor to gather the fruit out of that land, and then we're going to be in the kingdom. Then the tabernacle of God is with men, right? Go ahead.
This is the book of Matthew, chapter 25, and verse 32. And before him shall be gathered all nations, and he shall separate them.
Sounds like a threshing floor. Sounds like a threshing floor on a ranch. Go ahead.
And he shall separate them one from another, as a shepherd divideth his sheep from the goats.
Is that it on that?
No. And he shall set the sheep on the right hand, but the goats on the left.
Right.
Then,
just how you separate. Let me see if I can pull up a picture, and I'm gonna put it up on the camera, because it's important for our people to have some type of visualization. 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 Thank you. Let's see. All right. I'm gonna bring this up to the camera real quick. All right. A little closer.
Stay right there. What are we looking at?
All right, so as you can see, this is a threshing floor. So this is where you separate wheat, or this is where you just separate fruit in general, right? From the bad fruit to the good fruit, right? And so that's what he's likening. That's what he's likening the daughter of Babylon to, right? And this, you got some more on that? Go ahead.
verse 34, then shall the king say unto them on his right hand, come, ye blessed of my father, inherit the kingdom.
So this wheat that's on the right side of that threshing floor, this is what they're saying, right?
Inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundations of the world. For I was an 100, and ye gave me meat. I was thirsty, and you gave me drink.
These are things all pertaining to what Yahweh was bringing out in Galatians chapter 5, the spirit of the law, right? Go ahead.
I was a stranger, and you took me in. Naked, and ye clothed me. I was sick, and ye visited me. I was in prison, and ye came unto me. Then shall the righteous answer him, saying, Lord, when saw we thee and hungered, and feed thee, or thirsted thee, or gave thee drink?
All right, good. Yeah, so it's just basically expounding upon keeping the spirit of the law and keeping the law in and of itself, because the law tells you to don't withhold your goods or withhold any type of. You got a question, sister? Oh, shit. Yeah, the Bible tells you don't turn a blind eye to the poor, right? So he's separating the wheat from the chaff, the goats from the sheep, man. Right? Go ahead. Now read that in Amos chapter 9.
The book of Amos chapter 9 and verse 9. For lo, I will command and I will sift.
I will sift. Now what is sifting for? Right? Growing up, my mom, she had a little, you're a chef. Explain it to her.
Sifting is basically when you put a substance into like a strainer, and you sift out all the chunky parts, separate it from all the fine grain.
Right.
The specific thing what you want to use to cook with.
And that's what Yahweh is doing. That's what he's going to be doing to the daughter of Babylon, right?
That's right.
He's sifting the house of Israel through the rest of these nations that's inside of Babylon. But what did he say is going to happen?
Verse 9. For lo, I will command and I will sift the house of Israel among all nations, like as a corn is sifted in a sheaf, and yet not the least grain shall fall upon the earth.
Yet not the least grain shall fall upon the earth. So when he catches us up in those chariots, we're not going to fall back down, because he done sifted us, man. We are thoroughly, filtered at that point. We're not falling back down this wicked ass. Right? Now give me Ezra chapter 3, verse 1 through 4. could give me Nehemiah 8 and 13. Right? Because we're just going to get an example of how our forefathers were keeping the Feast of Tabernacles and when they came out of the Babylonian captivity, when they was trying to rebuild the temple. Ezra chapter 3, starting at verse 1.
The book of Ezra chapter 3 and verse 1. And when the 7th month was come, and the children of Israel were in the cities, the people gathered themselves together as one man.
As one man, that's very important to do, right? Because we have, even within Israel, unfortunately still, we're still divided, man. But it says here that they gathered themselves together as one man, right? Go ahead.
As one man to Jerusalem. Verse 2. Then stood up Joshua, the son of Jozadan, and his brother, the priest, and Zerubbabel, the son of Shealtiel, and his brother, and built an altar unto God.
They built a what?
An altar unto God.
They built an altar to the Most High God, right? Now we understand that we're the altar to the Most High God right now, because we're offering ourselves as a living sacrifice, as Romans chapter 1 says, right? So we're keeping the spirit of the law of the tabernacles right now, right? Now we don't have the luxury to do it in the temple right now because we're just simply not in our own land, right? But we can still do it. You don't have to get wrong. It's good. Go ahead.
Offer unto God, the God of Israel, to offer burnt offerings thereon, as it is written in the law of Moses.
It is written where?
In the law of Moses, the man of God. Verse 3. And they set the altar upon his base, and the fear was upon them.
They set the altar upon the base. Now what should be Israel's base? What should be Israel's base? This is a question for the crowd. What should be Yahweh Shah. He's our chief cornerstone, right? He's our base. Go ahead.
Upon the base. Upon the base.
How y'all doing? Hey, can I ask you a question? What's your nationality?
What?
You're a Mud. What's your father?
He was part Mexican. My grandma was part.
And what's your father's father? Is he a so-called Hispanic
I
man?
don't know, man. Everybody got lost in the hood, man. I was adopted like when I was 14, man.
Okay, just tell me, just real quick, just
Man, I
real
would,
quick.
bro, but I'm trying to do the family.
Okay, well, hey, bro. Do you believe in the Bible?
This moment
Do you believe in the Bible?
Oh, every day, brother.
You do? Okay, well, the Bible says to search out your fathers, right? Because when you search out your fathers, you may stumble across the fact that you may be an Israelite. And the Israelites, according to the Bible, is the so-called black, Hispanics, and Native Americans. God's chosen
father, instead of looking for more, just trying to make the new, create new generation, new beginning. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't got time to look backwards at the moment.
Okay.
Trying to bust my ass off and have maybe 2 hours to eat dinner with these cats.
Okay, I understand. Well, hey,
I
it's a
respect
possibility.
what you're doing, bro. You're right. You're
Okay,
right.
good. It's a possibility you could be Israelite, so look into that. All right,
Y'all be safe.
All right, you too.
Verse.
Okay, come on, yeah, bring this out, right? Now, first read this, and then we're going to get that. Read that part where they set the altar upon the base.
Verse 3. And they set the altar upon the base.
We identify what the altar or who the altar is. That's Israel. Go ahead.
For fear was upon them.
My bad, the base. So what's the base? The base is the foundation. Go ahead.
It's the book of 1 Peter, chapter 2 and verse 6. Wherefore also it is contained in the scripture, Behold, I lay in Zion a chief cornerstone.
That was a cornerstone, right? Now we got a lot of immaculate high buildings up here, right? In these immaculate high buildings, you have large cornerstones for the foundation, right? To make that whole building sturdy, right? And that's what Israel should be set upon. Go ahead.
I lay in Zion a chief cornerstone, elect, precious, and he that believeth on him shall not be confounded.
He that believeth on him shall not be confounded, right? Now Yadi was talking about how a lot of Israelites nowadays are starting to be confounded. You know why? Because they don't have Yahweh as their cornerstone. Because they simply don't believe in the law. Because he says in John chapter 5 that if you would have believed Moses, you would have believed in me. Because Moses wrote of me, right? So go ahead. What verse you got?
Verse 3. And they set the altar upon his base, for the fear was upon them because of the people of this country. And they offered burnt offerings thereon unto Yahweh, and burnt offerings more. Slock it. They put burnt offerings morning and evening. Verse 4. They kept also the Feast of Tabernacles.
They kept the what?
The Feast of Tabernacles as it was written.
As it was written. And we just read how it was written out of Leviticus 23, starting at verse 33 all the way down to 44. That's how it was written, and that's how our forefathers kept the Feast of Tabernacles after they came out of the Babylonian captivity to build the temple again.
As it was written, and offered the daily burnt offerings by number, according to the customs, as the duty of every day required.
It's the duty of every day that required. Hey, sister, how you doing? Hey, what's your nationality? Habla español. I need to get back on my Spanish for my
She said yeah.
She said yeah. Hey, we're doing. Okay.
They're getting a picture right now, so you might want to catch.
¿Habla español?
She said sí.
Ok, es que estamos enseñando que los morenos, bueno, los mentados morenos, hispanos y los nativos de esta tierra somos los verdaderos israelitas. ¿Has escuchado eso? ¿Qué nacionalidad es usted? ¿Venezolana? ¿Nunca ha escuchado que es israelita? No, mire.
It's starting the bottom.
Venezuela. That's Asherite. Los venezolanos son de la tribu de Asher. ¿Nunca has escuchado eso? Bueno, pues aquí estamos enseñando que los soldados morenos y los hispanos y los nativos de la tierra somos los verdaderos israelitas de la Biblia. Entonces, bueno, pues sí, solamente eso es lo que le quería decir, si me entiende. Sí, eso es para usted. Pero bueno, ándale.
Good. Yeah, we got northern people out here doing the work, man. Abraham, you see, he's the father of many nations. Right? We got many nationalities within Israel. So we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up. Give me Nehemiah.
It's the book of Nehemiah, chapter 8 and verse 13. And on the second day, we gathered together the chief of the fathers of all the people.
And this was in history of Nehemiah, right? Right here. This is when they was coming out of the Babylonian captivity to rebuild the city of Jerusalem. And Ezra was rebuilding the temple of Jerusalem. We understand who the temple is. And the city of Jerusalem is none other still than Israel. Revelation 21, that's going to get expounds upon that even more. Go ahead.
The priests and the Levites unto Ezra the scribe, even to understand the words of the law. And they found written in the law, which the Lord hath commanded by Moses, that the children of Israel shall dwell in booths in the feast of the 7th month. And they shall publish and proclaim in all their cities, and in Jerusalem, saying, Go forth unto the mount, and fetch olive branches, and pine branches, and myrtle branches.
There's things that we found containing in the law. Go ahead.
And palm branches, and branches of thick trees, to make booths, as it is written. So the people went forth, and brought them, and made themselves booths, every one upon the roof of his house, and in their courts, and in their courts of the house of God, and in the street of the water gate, and in the street of the gate of Ephraim. And all the congregation of them that were come again out of the captivity made booths.
They came out of where?
Out of the captivity.
Now we're about to come up out of our captivity, out of Babylon, right? And we're going to be rebuilding. We're going to have that new Jerusalem. We're going to be dwelling in tents. Now read this in Revelation 21 real quick.
The book of Revelation, chapter 21 and verse 3. And I heard a great voice out of heaven saying, verse 1, and I saw a new heaven and a new earth. For the first heaven and the first earth were passed away, and there was no more sea. Verse 2, and I, John, saw the holy city, New Jerusalem.
New Jerusalem. This is a new city, right? They were rebuilding the city in Nehemiah's time, right? Go ahead.
Coming down from God out of heaven, prepared as a bride, adorned for her husband. Verse 3, and I heard a great voice out of heaven saying, Behold, The tabernacle.
And what?
The tabernacle.
Now, what are we celebrating? The Feast of Tabernacles. Go ahead.
The tabernacle of God is with men.
The tabernacle of God is with men. Not just any old man, but the men of Israel, the women of Israel. Go ahead.
And he will dwell with them.
He shall dwell with them. Give me Leviticus chapter 26, verse 11. You can say right.
And he,
No.
and he will dwell with them, and they shall be his people. And God himself shall be with them and be their power.
Right. And man, this is very beautiful because this is something that you find written within the Mosaic law. And this is when it's going to come to its terminal and its fruition in totality forevermore. Go ahead.
It's the book of Leviticus, chapter 26 and verse 11. And I will set my tabernacle among you.
He will say his tabernacle where?
Among you.
And where was who was Leviticus written to?
Israel.
Israel. Leviticus was written to Israel. He said he's going to set his tabernacle among us. Go down 13.
Verse 13. I am the Lord your God. Verse 12. And I will walk among you, and we will be your God, and ye shall be my people. I am the Lord your God, which brought you forth out of the land of Egypt, that ye should not be their bondmen. And I have broken the bands of your yoke, and made you upright.
God. So there you find, and we understand that God's not going to break his law. And he promised us within his law that he's not going to abhor us, and he's going to make his tabernacle amongst us. So when we read in Revelation chapter 21, that is the final fruition of that, right? Because he did make his tabernacle amongst us when we're in King Solomon's, when we had the temple in Israel, but we understand that got torn down, that got ripped apart by the Romans, you know? But this is where it's going to be built up forevermore, right? Go ahead.
37 and 26. The book of Ezekiel, chapter 37 and verse 26. Moreover, I will make a covenant of peace with them. It shall be an everlasting covenant with them, and I will place them and multiply.
So this is basically talking about the new covenant, right? And so when we read what he's about to say after he makes this everlasting covenant, there's no type of logical conclusion that you can think about that we are possibly in this new covenant already, right? Because this hasn't happened. Go ahead.
And I will place them and multiply them, and I will set my sanctuary in the midst of them.
Has that happened yet? No. Go ahead.
In the midst of them forever. Verse 27. My tabernacle.
My what?
My tabernacle also shall be with them. Yea, I will be their power, and they shall be my people.
That sounds just like what we read out of Leviticus and what we read out of Revelation. And most Christians and scholars they'll tell you, yeah, what Revelation 21 is talking about, that has not happened yet. So Ezekiel's saying the same thing. So what's that going to show you? That we're not in the new covenant yet, right? Go ahead.
Verse 28. And the heathens shall know.
And the who?
And the heathens.
She's still sitting right there.
And the heathen shall know that I, the Lord, do sanctify Israel.
Hey, you're going to know, lady, you're going to know. Yeah, that's right. Wicked out her slumber. Y'all stop. She's going to know that the Most High God sanctifies us.
That's
These
right.
men right here up on this line.
Right.
Right. But they don't know that. So what's that going to show you? We're not in the new covenant. Go ahead.
Sanctify Israel when my sanctuary shall be in the midst of them forever.
Forever. Forever. Beautiful. Beautiful. Now, Ezekiel 45, verse 25, and you give me Zechariah 14 and 16. Showing you that we're going to be keeping the tabernacles even in the kingdom. Because a lot of Christians, you already know they don't keep no commands, but they definitely don't think that high holy days is something that you should be keeping. But this is something that we're going to be doing in the kingdom. Go ahead.
It's the book of Ezekiel, chapter 45 and verse 25. In the 7th month, in the 15th day of the month, shall he do to like in the feast of the 7 days, according to the sin offering, according to the burnt offering, and according to the meat offering, and according to the oil. Thus saith the Lord God, the gate of the inner court that looketh toward the east. Verse 25 again from the top. In the 7th month,
Take your ring gone, my whole team gone, and
That's our people. That's our people. That's all they got the glory about right now.
It's the book of Ezekiel, chapter 45 and verse 25. In the 7th month, in the 15th day.
Oh, that sounds like Tabernacle, something that we just found in the law. And everybody will agree, well, most people will agree, that Ezekiel's the 40th chapter, especially chapter 45 and 44 and 46, is kingdom connotations. Go ahead.
In the 15th day of the month shall he do to like in the feast of the 7 days, according to the sin offering, according to the burnt offering, and according to the meat offering, and according to the oil.
Good. So that's it. So that's showing you that we're going to be keeping the Feast of Tabernacles even in the kingdom when now the tabernacle of God is with men. All right, go ahead.
The book of Zechariah, chapter 14 and verse 16. And it shall come to pass that everyone that is left of all the nations.
So this is when the heathens will be able to keep the pass. I mean, so like the Feast of Tabernacles. Go ahead.
That is left of all the nations which came against Jerusalem.
And who are those all nations? All nations, right? Russia, China, right? You name it. Iran, you know, all these nations. And this is what this is Esau. How can we forget about that? Well, that's Russia, right? But these are the people that's going to have to keep this tabernacles. Go ahead.
Which came against Jerusalem shall even go up from every year to year to worship the King, the Lord of hosts, and keep the Feast of Tabernacles.
Keep the what?
Keep the Feast of Tabernacles. Verse 17. And it shall be that whosoever will not come up.
So whoever of these nations don't come up and keep this feast, what's going to happen?
Shall not come up of all the families of the earth unto Jerusalem to worship the King, the Lord of hosts, even upon them shall be no rain.
No rain. If you don't have any rain in your land, you're going to be in famine. All right? You're not going to be able to eat. So the Most High is going to kill you with famine. All right? Go ahead.
Verse 18. And if the family of Egypt go not up and come not that have no rain, there shall be the plague.
There shall be the plague of no rain, right? So showing you that if the heathens don't want to keep the Feast of Tabernacles in the kingdom, right, that they're going to be put to death by famine, right? So this is when all nations are going to be keeping the Feast of Tabernacles, right? Hey, brothers and sisters, how y'all doing over there? Y'all mind coming over here real quick? Do you believe in the Bible? Okay. All right. Give me John 10, 26. And this is our people, man. All they'll tell you that they believe in the Bible, they truly don't. All right?
The book of John, chapter 10 and verse 26. But ye believe not, because ye are not of my sheep.
Hey, you say you believe, but you truly don't believe. Right? Go ahead.
And I said unto you, my sheep hear my voice, and I know them, and they follow me.
So if you, man, hopefully you are part of that sheep, man. That's why our brothers over there trying to pass that fly out to you. But we understand how our people are. They're hard-hearted, stiff-necked, right? Nothing new amongst them. But with that, I'm going to go ahead and close it out and say shalom.
Shalom.